A year ago, we lost one of the greatest legal minds to ever serve on the nation's highest court. For nearly 3 decades, Judge Antonin Scalia fought for individual liberty and defended the integrity of the Constitution. No judge in recent memory has so fundamentally influenced the trajectory of the Supreme Court. Now, from his landmark decision that protected our Second Amendment right to bear arms, to his staunch defense of limited government and enumerated powers, Judge Scalia stood as a bulwark against the erosion of our constitutional rights by an activist judiciary. He did this with an unshakable commitment to an originalist interpretation of the Constitution. Through this lens, he did not read words that were not there, nor infer content that did not exist. Instead, Justice Scalia simply understood the Constitution as the founders understood it. Mr. President, Judge Scalia's passing marked a watershed moment for the future of our country. Suddenly, in the midst of the last presidential campaign, voters were empowered to determine the philosophical balance of the Supreme Court at the polls. By entrusting Republicans with the stewardship of our federal government, voters signaled their desire for change and for the values that our party embraces. From strong separation of powers to a commitment to federalism, to religious freedom, people of Arizona and around the country wanted to restore these foundational principles. Now, President Trump's nomination of Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court will help usher in that change and solidify those values on the court for a generation to come. Earlier this week, I had the opportunity to attend the ceremony at the White House and to listen to Judge Gorsuch accept his nomination. I was impressed by his humble respect for the law and for his commitment to service. I was particularly struck by his recognition that, quote, "It is for Congress, not the courts, to write new laws, and that a justice should make decisions based on what the law demands, not the outcome that he or she desires." I also appreciate his experience as an appellate court judge. This experience has given him a firm understanding of a properly functioning federal circuit. Now, as someone who's trying to reform an oversized and overworked Ninth Circuit, I really appreciate that insight. Judge Gorsuch is an accomplished mainstream jurist with a judicial philosophy worthy of Judge Scalia's seat. We can be confident that he will read the law as written and not attempt to legislate from the bench. But if we allow rigid partisan and ideological calculations to seep into our confirmation process, I fear that no president will be able to get a cabinet or Supreme Court pick confirmed. The favorite line of our former president was that elections have consequences. Indeed, they do. Like it or not, the winning party governs. That's democracy, and we have a responsibility now to govern. My hope is a return to the long-standing traditions of bipartisan cooperation on this Supreme Court nomination. Judge Gorsuch is experienced, he is qualified, and he deserves a fair hearing. He deserves an up or down vote here on the Senate floor. I'm confident that when he receives that up or down vote, that he will fill the vacancy on the Supreme Court. I yield back.